So there's,
It's curious to me that but that isn't the case on the friendship front.
but it's so different. Friendships, you don't get tired of the sex. I still love hanging out with Jim Vallely, and we never, ever expect sex. Ever. Not once in 45 years. And so there's just not that dimension to it that is always hanging over the head like the sword of Damocles over relationships. The clock's always ticking on them for when the passion runs out. And that's the dilemma everybody finds themselves in. Everybody finds themselves in it. It's just how people handle it. Some people cheat, some people leave, some people don't care. Some people just suck it up. Everybody has their way of dealing with it, but it's going to happen. No one who's in a long-term relationship is going to say, oh yeah, 20 years on and we still attack each other when we walk in the door. It's just, come on.
That's true in my case.
You still attack each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it makes an ugly
We just
picture.
played Stump the Band. You got me.
Sorry, man.
You got me.
Sorry.
You win dinner at Pepe's.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Wow, that's very impressive. It's really better man than I.
Let me tell you the story. Because so both my wife and I were very sick for a couple of years.
Right.
And she just about died every day for about 8 months. It was really not good. And she handled it with amazing grace, by the way. And at the same time, I was very ill, and we were actually separated for about 2 years because I was in hospitals here and there.
Sure.
And so I was there with her for the bulk of her illness. And then when she recovered very suddenly and somewhat miraculously, on our 30th wedding anniversary day, by the way, which she told me she was going to do 3 months previously, which was I have no idea what to make of any of that. I got very ill after that. And so we were apart more or less for about 2 years, and we grew apart quite a lot. And when we got back together, when I moved back into the house, we didn't really know what to do with each other because it had been so long, and she had kind of gone her way and I was still very ill. But we had made a habit of dating 2 or 3 times a week. We really set aside time to do that.
Each other?
And yes, each other. Yes, an important point, Bill. Yeah. And so we had practiced that continually.
Wow.
And we really set aside time to do that. And so when we got back together and we didn't really know what to do, we thought, well, we had this dating routine. Maybe we could start that up again. And I tell you, man, that brought us back together right away. And it was better than it was before. And that has continued.
And when you say dating, describe a date. It sounds like something where it's planned and, you're at your best and you're...
Yep, all of that.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Well, okay, I can tell you. Well, so we have this third floor.
You go out to dinner,
We generally don't, because I can't go out in public that much, because...
Look at you.
Well, so...
Fucking A, cannot go out in public. I love it.
Well, not be private, right? So, I'm sure you know
hockey,
exactly what that's
like.
like.
That involves hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. If I wear a mask, if I wear a goalie mask,
there you go. Solve 2 problems at once. And COVID.
Yeah. We have this third floor on our house. We built a log cabin essentially on the 3rd floor of our house in Toronto. It's this little narrow house. Yes, we had this weird idea that we would build a log cabin on the roof of our house, which we eventually did. Although
the roof.
Yes, we tore off the roof and we put a 3rd floor on that's basically a log cabin.
Holy
Except
crow.
we had an Indian guy, Native Canadian actually, come and help us design it. And it's full of totem poles and beautiful native art. Yeah, it's a crazy place. It's all wood. It has great acoustics. It's not much bigger than this place. It's about the same size as the place that we're in right now. And
do you let Elizabeth Warren stay there for free?
I would if she asked, It's only polite. So, and it has great acoustics. It has a great sound system. We go up there and dance, and it's beautiful. I have
dance.
Yeah, we go up there and dance, and we have these I have laser light show up there, which is real fun. And
do you know how many women just came right now? The idea that this erudite, good-looking guy, you got the George Hamilton tan. I don't know how a fucking Canadian gets a tan like that. Well, I guess you're here in California.
Hey, man, Insta-tan.
Wow. To know that there's a guy in the world who is like that with somebody he's been with for 30 years, that is the ultimate pussy boner for women. I mean, seriously, that wettens panties from here to Kuala Lumpur. I'm telling you.
Well, so that's a good move. So
But it's true.
There's a place in LA
Right?
called Trashy.com.
Trashy lingerie.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so
I had a membership card in 1988.
Okay, so you know the place well. So about 20 years ago, something like that, I bought like 100 pieces of lingerie for my wife.
Whoa, 100?
Yeah, a whole bunch, like a boatload. Yes.
What a baller!
Yeah. It was, and then she wore them, and that took care of the novelty problem. By the way,
The novelty. Oh, really?
it helped a lot.
Well,
yes.
I mean, it's the same.
And it was a form of play, you know.
Oh, of course. I mean, let me tell you, you're low maintenance because, I mean, the idea that just different lingerie could, because it's still the same person in there. I mean, that's my problem. But,
You know that people can be very complicated, right? And they can show you different sides of themselves.
Also,
you know?
lingerie.
And if you can play well.
It can be very complicated.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. But she played long, you know, and that made a big difference.
Look, I envy you. That is just that is a rare. But
I'll tell you,
you do
else.
realize how rare you are.
I'll tell you something
among
else that's
men,
strange.
though, right?
So I've known my wife since she was 8. So we've known each other for 52 years.
Wow.
And we were childhood friends. And I really liked her when we were kids. Like, I was probably in love with her.
Before you were even pubic?
Yeah. She lived across the street. She was one of my friends. And we kind of separated because I was young. I was a young kid in my class because I skipped a grade. And so she physically matured like 2 years before me. And then she was gone for like 4 years, essentially. But we were very close friends when we were kids, and there was romantic attraction there at that age. And now when I see her, I swear this is true. When I see her, I can see her at every single age of her life at the same time. It's really magical.
Okay, they all just came again. I can.
I was rehearsing all of this before the show.
No,
Bill.
I mean, if you weren't sincere about it, they wouldn't come. But they're coming. I mean, because you are obviously sincere. You can't make this shit up.
No,
you cannot make.
No,
this
it's
shit
also
up.
hard to
Not
believe.
even Tom Hanks can make this shit up. No, but he's like the other guy who, when there was a run of movies there he did, and I guess it was kind of in vogue at the time, and like the best thing you could be was the widower, because it showed that you can commit. You're single. You're a total committer, but you're also single,
right?
But it's not your fault.
Right.
It's the one way you could be both. The guy who commits, crazy commits, and they're sorry for you because the wife. And now, so that was always, and I know a guy, a friend of mine in real life, who is that. I mean, he sadly and unfortunately lost his wife at 35 or 40 or something. And yeah, I mean, it's way better than saying I'm divorced.
Well, you said you said I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what I understood, from what you told me was that the integration of sex into a relationship was what fragmented your intimate relationships. That was hard. It was hard to manage that. You have these long-term friendships, but the sexual element was something that didn't integrate well.
Let's not talk about it like I'm some weird science project. Yes, I was experiencing what 98% of the world goes through, which is they get fucking bored of each other, because no matter how interesting a person is, if you live with them every fucking day, no one is that interesting. You're not, I'm not. We're good now because we're like getting drunk, forcing it all together. But like, it can't always be that way.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to maintain. Well, I'll tell you something else that happened. This was interesting. I was out on tour with my wife, right? And we've toured a lot. Like we've been in like 500 cities in 3 years. Like it's 4 years, something like that. It's crazy. We're on the road all the time. And one time last March when we were touring, Tammy had enough. She for a variety of reasons. I wasn't feeling very well again, and she just had enough of touring, so she went home for a while. And she liked to be on tour, and so she went home and she sat down and she thought, like, well, what the hell do I have to do to want to continue being on tour? And a little voice came to her and said, you have to get your own room. And so she was worried about that because she thought she went and talked to a friend of hers, and she said, well, I was trying to think about what I needed if I was going to be on the road, and I think I need my own room. And her friend said, get your own damn room. And Tammy said, well, I'm kind of worried about bringing this up with my husband because I don't know what he's going to think. And so she came and told me this, and she said, I went home and I thought about what I need to go on tour. I need my own room.
Right.
And I thought, well, what the hell are you trying to tell me here exactly? Right. But then I thought, because I trusted her, right, and she's an honest person. Like, we swore when we got married that we wouldn't lie to each other, and she took that even more serious than me, and I took it seriously. So she doesn't lie to me, and so if she tells me that she thought through something in a particular way, I can believe it. Thank God.
Hey, it's not a rejection. It's just the smart move.
Well, that's what I realized that quite quickly.
How can look? 10% of life is completely disgusting. Everything that happens in the bathroom, including brushing your teeth. Like, I don't want to watch someone brush their teeth, and that's hardly the grossest thing that happens in the bathroom. I just think it's gross. These things need to happen alone.
Well, we also realized it's like if you live in a house with someone, you don't live in the same room, and we're not on the road. We live on the road.
I know, but you kind of do, and you certainly sleep together, right? You're in the same room about, probably at least 40%.
Right.
That's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
With another human being. It just is.
We don't know exactly how much time you have to spend together and apart to maintain that novelty. Like, and it's a real complicated thing.
I know.
Well.
Wait, finally I got an answer to one, Doc. No.
Well, you said quite straightforwardly that there's a privacy boundary that you want to maintain. Right.
But
that's not unreasonable.
Again,
right?
I'm not the only one who's told these kind of stories, but I've heard it many times. Like a woman will say, I was totally into this guy, and then we decided to kind of like get closer, and one night he just burped in front of me, and I was like, oh, we're not burping now, are we? Yeah, and he goes, oh, I'm feeling gassy. I was like, okay, like there is a moment when the part that makes it tingly gets killed. I remember somebody else's, a friend of mine's wife told me, we were talking about, I don't know what, but she was telling me about like marriage, and I said, she was being very pessimistic about it. And I said, when did it all go south like that? And she said, the first time I had to wash his underwear. Mm-hmm. We don't have to get graphic about it, but I know exactly what that means. And it's like, you can't unsee that. And you can't, and like, maybe you're made of sterner stuff. I think you are, definitely. But some of us just like, we can't manage those two things. There's a singer, I think it's Meghan Trainor, who has a love toilet seat with her husband. Like they shit next to each other. To me, this is like the opposite end of the spectrum I'm on. Like if that's, maybe I'm anal, ironically, because they're actually shitting together. But yes, I guess that makes me anal, and that's whatever that is, which I think is nuts. But I think that has a lot to do. I mean, was it Freud or Erickson, one of those dudes who said, like, everything is, like, in our personality packed in the first couple of years. So that kind of thing with me probably dictated a lot about this, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to wake up with somebody necessarily. I can, and it can be great, but, like, I don't need that. Mm-hmm. But I do need my own bathroom.
Well, one of the things that has happened since, so we talked this through, and I said, look, if you think you need your own room and that's going to make the tours work better, like partly because our schedules weren't aligned exactly. I would be up later at night than her.
Of course.
Right. Well, how can they be?
Just the temperature. I remember having a girlfriend. We used to fight. We'd have thermometer wars. Mm-hmm. Like I'd wake up and because she wanted it hot and I wanted it cold, sleeping. I'd wake up, it would be 80. And then I'd move it to 62 because like, I feel like, okay, I know you're going to fuck with this at some point. So what sort of way, what, wouldn't it be just easier to get separate rooms? So you did, I'm hoping, get separate rooms and
absolutely.
And it worked, right?
It worked amazingly well. I think it was partly too because she got away from me enough to miss me. And
exactly.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that continual take it for granted intimacy means that there's no deprivation, right? And you have to be deprived of someone to some degree before you get interested in them. And so you can get satiated with...
You know what the number one mistake, I'm getting this from women, that young guys make with girls is like, they meet, okay, the girl likes it, okay, he's cute, he doesn't seem like a psycho, give their number. And then instead of just like being cool about it and like hitting him up the next day, hey, great to meet you, let's talk soon, they like bombard them. And the girl is like, could you give me just a minute to try to miss you?
Right.
Before we start, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like they just tip their hand of their insecurity and their desperation.
Well, and I think it's probably even more important to give women space to miss you, because women prefer sex at less frequency than men. And so if you don't give your woman space, more space than you might even want to give her, given your likely difference in sexual temperament, then she isn't going to get a chance to miss you.
I mean, that's not always true.
No, it's not. No, it's not always true. It's not always true. But it's reliably true.
But it's great that after you went through everything you went through health-wise, that the old skin bus still can drive into Tuna Town.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know,
I mean, that's...
You have to, you want to know what you should be pleased about in life. Right. And that's the thing about, that's one of the things about getting older. It's like, well, what are you pleased about? Well, things still work.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lower threshold.
Well, Fran Lebowitz has the great observation that she says, you know, when people go, you look great. She said, yeah, remember, nobody really says it to you when you're young.
Right. They only say that when it's a surprise. You look great. It's like, you're decrepit. You look way better than you should.
That's really the chyron underneath your head.
Definitely.
It's
definitely.
You know, for your age or...
Yeah.
But you do.
For your advanced state of basic repulsiveness.
I'm so glad.
You don't look nearly as awful as you could.
So glad you're killing it. I could talk to you all night, but I'm not going to take advantage. So anytime I can do anything for you, I'm your biggest fan, and I don't care who knows it. And I hope we see each other.
You can come to
often.
this conference that I'm hosting in London in October.
Okay, that's not going to happen.
No?
No, I don't travel overseas anymore.
Oh, how come?
You know, I'm just not a great traveler. Never was. I'm a nervous traveler. The last 2 times I went to Europe, I never got over the jet lag, never slept right, like never slept more than 4 hours. And so that affects like,
that's not fun.
This is too much information. Some people travel easily and well, and I increasingly, as I get older, especially, I think, you know, I backpacked across Europe with 0 money when I was 21.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it's different. And I'm just, you know, I mean, a lot of traveling is just, oh my gosh, wondrous and delightful. And some of it is trying to cut open an orange at 2 a.m. with a can opener because there's no knife in the room. And it's, you know, it's just, when I get home, it's like, such a relief from a trip. So
well, you said though that you were doing some touring or some appearances
in America.
Yeah, okay.
And you know, I do weekends. You know, I do Friday, Saturday, and I come home after the second show Saturday. So I'm not gone that long. And
are these basically stand-up comedy gigs?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's fun.
Very stand-up.
Yeah,
and very comedy.
When I'm on the road with Tammy, one of the things we often do is go to stand-up comedy shows.
But someday we should do this live.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be fun and get a good crowd.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We should do that at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
There is still such a thing as the public intellectual.
Yeah.
The audience is not as big as I'm sure it was